Welcome back to the Mind Matter Lifestyle. I'm Mikey Weiss, and I am coming to you back from my normal setting in Texas. My competition is all completed, my bodybuilding competition. I'm done visiting friends and family back in Chicago and Indiana. So I'm back in my normal setting, and today I want to discuss with you something that's on my mind right now, and right now is the best time to discuss it, which is what does it feel like to be lean? And when I say lean, I mean shredded, under 10% body fat. If you've been following me on my other social media platforms, I've been doing my best to document the process from my off-season transition to my pro bodybuilding debut, and a lot of people have expressed interest in that and have seemed to enjoyed seeing the process and everything that goes into it. And one thing I've tried to do during this process is just explain what goes into something like this, and also what it feels like. At this point, I've gone through the process so many times that I kind of forget that other people don't really know what it's like or what it feels like. And I know a lot of times on social media and pictures and just videos, it's hard to actually get a real picture of what it feels like to get to where these people are at. And I know it looks really cool, and everyone wants to be shredded and have all their muscles popping out, veins popping out, and it's just, you know, it's this extreme crazy look that a lot of people like because it's super unique, and not a lot of people have actually gone through and been able to get to that point. So I want to discuss what it actually feels like. Today I just kind of want to have a discussion because, again, it's on my mind. Even though my show is over right now, I'm within arm's reach of being stage lean. If I wanted to, I can compete in a week or two again. So now I do feel would be the best time for me to just have an honest conversation with you guys and tell you about what it feels like. And I don't mind going through and talking about the stuff that, you know, isn't more appealing, you know, because a lot of people like to act like, oh, hey, look at me, I'm, you know, shredded and I look like this. And it's just, there's a lot more that goes into it. And I think that it's very important for people to be aware of what actually goes into this, because if it is something that you want, if it's something you really are passionate about doing, and it's something that you've always wanted to do, and it's something that you're ready for, then of course I think, and I encourage and I coach people to get to that level. There is a lot to be enjoyed about getting shredded. I mean, you are doing things that most people cannot do. I mean, let's face it, most people struggle losing some weight to get to a point where you're just peeled to the bone and everything is popping out and you just look like a freak. Like, that is not something a lot of people can do. So I mean, for me, that was always what I wanted to do. I mean, from the first time I picked up a magazine in the vitamin shop, or from the first time I got into the gym, it was like, okay, how do I get to this level? This is what I want to do. And so I always knew that I wanted to be a bodybuilder. And I always knew that I wanted to, you know, take things to that extreme level. I didn't realize how long it would take. I mean, I didn't compete in my first bodybuilding show until after I had already trained for 6 years. So, I mean, with natural bodybuilding, patience is obviously huge, because you can't just, well, you can, but let's just say you can't very successfully just start training, jump into a show. I mean, people do it all the time, you see it, but they don't look good. You have to spend some time building muscle and getting familiar with the process. And this is kind of where I like to give my insight into what it takes to get lean, because the getting lean part is obviously all diet and nutrition, but to get to that point, it takes a lot of mental fortitude and it takes a lot of mental strength, and the effects can be longer lasting than just, okay, the show's over and done, or just from getting to, from, you know, off season or wherever you're at to stage. There's so much more that goes into it. So again, as I go through and I talk about this, I just don't want anyone to think that I'm talking about this in a negative light, because this is a huge passion of mine. It's a huge part of my life. You know, bodybuilding is very important to me, and I really love it. And there are tons and tons and tons of benefits. I just like people to be aware of, you know, the downsides to it, or what they should know when choosing a goal like this, because it's just not talked about a lot. And yeah, there are some things that can really fuck with someone's head if they want to move forward and go into a more extreme approach, like training for a bodybuilding show, a physique show, bikini show, figure show, whatever physique competition the person wants to compete in. So what does it feel like getting lean? So at first, you really don't feel the effects for a while. I mean, if you're just gonna go and diet, you know, 10 pounds, you know, 15 pounds, something like that, it's not that bad. It doesn't feel that bad or that uncomfortable to lose 10 to 15 pounds. You know, I consider that to be more lifestyle goals and just kind of being healthy, because a lot of us, especially like a lot of us competitors, will actually put on weight intentionally for quite a long period of time. So actually going into a calorie deficit at first, usually, and this is actually where you want to start your prep, you should actually not be hungry. You should not, you know, you should not be thinking about food. You should actually be full quite often, and the idea of being hungry should definitely be something that is appealing at that time. To go into a prep and already be thinking about food, hungry, and that's not a great place to be in, because boy, is it gonna get worse. So as you go through and as you lose weight and as the weeks roll on, a typical bodybuilding prep, which is where I was, I mean, you'll have to lose, you know, I want to say 30 to 50 pounds. That's an average number. I lost over 35 pounds. So I started at 175, and I ended up in the 130s. So that's pretty, you know, that's a lot of weight. So, and most people actually have more weight to lose than they think. Because once that body fat starts coming off, you don't really realize how much weight you have to lose to actually look the way that you want to look come stage time. So you don't really start feeling the major effects until, I would say, you know, 20 pounds down, 20 to 30 pounds down, then you definitely start feeling the effects of getting lean. And what are these effects? Well, this is going to be different for every person, and I will also say the severity of these effects will change from season to season. The more that you do it, like anything else, the better you get at it. So as an amateur, things that are very uncomfortable as an amateur, when you're a pro and you've done this a long time, you're not going to think those same effects are that bad, because you're already going to know going into it what to expect. It's just, you know, you know what's going on with your body. And that's another thing. If you know what's happening with your body, you pretty much are able to go, oh, okay, you know, my hunger hormones are changing. Oh, okay, I'm getting leaner, so I'm having this response. But as an amateur, maybe you haven't gone through this process yet. You're just feeling things, and as you're feeling them, you're going, oh, wow, okay, you know, this is very uncomfortable. So I will say that the more times that you do this, the more experience you get, and the more manageable manageable the symptoms or the feelings that come with getting very lean are. So depending on the person, things like sleep can definitely be affected. A lot of people do report very interrupted sleep. You are very hungry all the time, and the leaner you get, the more your body is just not satisfied. It wants to eat and it wants you to consume calories, so your sleep does get very interrupted. For me personally, this isn't something that I experience pretty much from the beginning to the end. I'm able to sleep straight through the night. I'm not sure exactly why this is. I don't really have a reason why I sleep pretty soundly. I will say those very last weeks, I do actually, my schedule changes, so I get up earlier and go to sleep earlier. That's just natural. Like I'm typically not an early riser or a morning person, but during prep, because you are so hungry, it's just your body wants you to get up and eat food. So my schedule does change, and I am up, you know, at like 6 in the morning and stuff like that, but I do go to sleep earlier, so it kind of evens out. Again, me personally, I don't have sleep issues, but a lot of people have major sleep issues, and that is that's a problem, because if you're waking up all throughout the night, it cuts into your recovery. And of course, you know, I mean, when you're awake, you're hungry, so it's going to be something that's uncomfortable. So if you do experience sleep issues, it's not uncommon. Again, it just depends on the person. Now, one thing that I do experience, and for me, this is I would say the most uncomfortable part of prep for me, is fatigue. So when I say fatigue, I do mean fatigue. You know, it takes calories to just do normal things. I mean, just your basal metabolic rate takes calories. And you're eating in a deficit for, let's say, you know, 10 or 11 months straight, yeah, you're gonna feel some fatigue. So the only way that I can explain it is just existing hurts. Let's just say that. So just being awake, I mean, you can feel your body working, you know, just little minute things, walking from your car into the grocery store. That shit hurts. Carrying your groceries in, that shit hurts. You know, showering, all these things that you know, vacuuming, all of these things. I mean, the fatigue is so intense that all you want to do is kind of just lay there, and just even that, it's just kind of like, you know, there's times where you're just like, oh wow, like this really sucks. One thing that helps for me is I live my life the way that I normally would live my life, intentionally during prep. So I don't become reclusive. I go out, I socialize. Obviously, I'm in control of all my own food. It's not like I go out to eat or anything like that, but I'll go out, I'll have a Diet Coke or something like that, and I will make a point to do the things that I would normally do and not avoid the things because of prep. I mean, just because you feel like, look, most people who aren't full-time competitors and make their full-time living competing, you know, like on an Olympia stage, they're not getting paid for you know, being in shows. I mean, yeah, there might be some prize money or something like that if you win first, but other than that, like, and you know, it's not anything you can make a living off of. So to seclude yourself and to live a reclusive lifestyle isn't healthy, and actually it does hurt you, because you're not burning calories if you're just laying there, so you have to eat less to keep losing fat, and it just gets you into a headspace where you're thinking about food all the time, and you're just kind of, you know, you're wallowing in it, and that's not good. So even though you're feeling super fatigued and you don't feel like doing anything, I make it a point to actually go and do stuff, and I'll even try to be more social in my prep, just because I know it's good for me. And I do think that helps out a lot. Even things like as you're going through and you're fatigued, you know, you tend to kind of slouch down and stuff like that. You know, I keep my head high, chest out, and I just really make sure not to give into the prep feelings. So for me, fatigue, that is a really big one, and a lot of people do report fatigue being severe during prep. Another obvious one is being hungry, and some people report the hunger being worse than the fatigue, some people vice versa. It really just depends on the person, their body, their mind. But yeah, hunger, it's just, I mean, all I can say is if you want to diet and get to that point, you are going to have to suffer. I mean, there's just no other way to do it. In fact, you can tell, like when you look at someone on stage, and you can tell who didn't diet hard enough, who didn't diet long enough, who didn't go to that point where they were in pain, and all of that shows on stage. So in order to, there's just no cheating it. There's no way around it. As you get leaner, your hunger hormones change. So yeah, you're hungry all the time. And that means never really being satiated and never being full for, you know, however long your prep is really. And that is very, very difficult for a lot of people because being hungry is uncomfortable. I mean, it's one of the most uncomfortable things that you can possibly feel. So just know, getting into prep, the hunger, I mean, the cravings, it's more intense than anything you've ever experienced before, because yeah, your body is telling you, hey, like, I need food, I need calories. You know, I'm not typically in the off season a sweets person, but as the carbs come down and as the months roll on, holy shit, like sweets, all that stuff, that's what I crave. And you know, you do what you can with the calories that you have, but as you get leaner, your metabolism changes, those calories need to be cut. Eventually, you're not gonna have much room in your calories or in your macros to be eating a whole lot of really tasty things. And a lot of your food should be coming from nutrient-dense foods because nutrients are scarce. So your food choices are even that more important if you're concerned about looking the best that you can possibly look come show day. So you're eating a lot of vegetables. You know, if you're eating fruit, maybe things like strawberries, because they have a little more volume to them. Protein, of course. So there's just not a whole lot of room for things like cookies or, you know, sweets and stuff like that with more sugar. Not that you can't have sugar, of course. Sugar's fine, but sugar is usually higher in calories, so you're just not going to be eating a lot of that. Therefore, your body's going to crave it, and those cravings are intense, people. They're very, very intense. You have to be very, very mentally strong to deny yourself. And, you know, again, like if people are cheating on their diet and stuff like that, it's just, you're not gonna look good. You're just not gonna make it to, and I'm talking about those really, really low numbers of body fat. I mean, to get to that point, you just have to go through this process, and it hurts. So that's just something you need to know going into it. Again, this is more for the people who are into the extreme side of things, because I would never recommend something like this for someone who's just trying to lose a couple pounds or trying to get in shape or something, because at the end of the day, this isn't about being in shape. This isn't about being healthy. I mean, this stuff, it's not healthy. You're intentionally starving yourself to the point where, yeah, on one day, and even lower than that, like 1 hour, you look like, you know, a freak, you look insane. But everything surround that, I mean, going into the show, you are not a picture of health. I was looking at one of my videos that I posted during peak week, and I mean, I can't even believe that I posted it up, because I just looked like a zombie. So yeah, it's not really about health. It's just, I need to look like this on this date, and I'm gonna do everything that I can, regardless of how it feels, to get there, and that's pretty much bodybuilding. So another one that people report is mood. Of course, your mood if you're starving and if you're, you know, training hard, because you have to maintain your training during this. Like, you can't just go through this process and not train your ass off. You have to train, you know, you have to train smart so you don't get hurt, because when you're depleted all the time of glycogen and just energy, like, training is completely different. So that's, you know, something completely different. That training is just a different beast altogether when you're in prep. But yeah, your mood definitely changes. Again, experience points, doing this multiple times, being a pro over being an amateur, you already know what to expect, and it's just not fair to the people around you to be a dick or a bitch all the time. So you're making this choice to starve yourself. You can't act like a jackass to the people around you. Other words, it's just going to become a really, really awful experience. And trust me, like, it's going to be a bad experience for you, your family, your loved ones. So personally, I do my very, very best not to, you know, I remain objective, I don't get emotional, and, you know, even though it's very, very hard and very difficult and you have to dig deep, being rude to the people around you, or the people in public places, whether you're at the grocery store, it's just a bad look. It's just a bad habit. You know, it's just one of those things that if you wallow in it and you let it get the best of you, it's just gonna set you up for, in my opinion, something I would never want to do. I wouldn't want to be in a prep and just, you know, everyone be like, oh, Mikey's prepping and he's going to be a complete jerk for the next, you know, however many months. So you have to realize, okay, why do I feel the way that I feel? Why am I thinking the way that I'm thinking? And then you have to switch that. As quick as you feel it, you have to turn that around. And again, that's just one of those mental tactics that goes along with getting shredded, with getting stage lean. And getting to that point is very much about the mind. And yeah, of course, there's a lot of physicality to it, but the stronger your mind is and the more mentally prepared you are, the more success you're gonna have in competing and actually making it through to the finish line of getting shredded, which a lot of people don't. So just know also your mood can change, your emotions can change, and everything tied to really your mind and body is going to change. At the beginning of prep, you're super high functioning, your sleep is great, your training is great, you know, this is like your pre-prep checklist. Your metabolism's high, you're full, you know, everything is fully functioning. By the end of prep, you've exhausted everything. I mean, you've emptied your tank. Everything should pretty much suck, and if it doesn't, you're probably not lean enough. The last one that I'm going to talk about is the hormone changes for men and women. I mean, women will lose their cycle. Men, testosterone, I mean, there's been tests and studies that men, their testosterone by the end of prep is pretty much that of a 75 to 80-year-old man, which that's pretty frightening. I mean, you know, but it does happen. Your test levels drop. Some things that I do to maintain my test levels is I do supplement with vitamin D, I get natural sunlight, and I do everything that I can to maintain my sex drive throughout prep, which is another thing that for me hasn't really been affected during my prep. Some people report losing sex drive completely. Others report just, you know, not being interested. For me, that's not an issue that I have, but it just depends on the person. But your hormones do change during prep, and severity is again going to just depend and change from person to person, but there will be changes. And the last one that I'll talk about, just so this video is not so super long, is your size, you're going to lose a lot of size. I don't think people really realize how much size you're going to lose. I mean, I'm in a t-shirt right now, and I mean, if you see me out in public, you probably wouldn't look at me and be like, oh, that's a bodybuilder. You know what I mean? It's a different story when I take my clothes off, or if I have some carbs or whatever and everything's just popping out and stuff like that, you know, or if I'm working out. But other than, like, if you're in, you know, a long sleeve shirt or you're in short sleeve shirt, I mean, I went in, you know, to family functions and my mom was like, are you gonna stay skinny like this all the time? Or I mean, because yeah, you look, you know, I weigh pretty much what I did in high school. Obviously my physique is way different, but yeah, I mean, it's a huge optical illusion, because the more body fat you lose, you know, the more the muscle is going to show. So people are going to look at you when you're, you know, peaked out and you're carved up and, you know, you're full and vascular and striated. People are going to look at you and be like, dude, you know, you look insane. But for the most of the time during prep, you're depleted of glycogen, you feel very stringy, and you don't really look like, you know, a bodybuilder on a magazine, you know, especially if you're doing things naturally. It's just the way it goes. And so you're gonna have to lose a lot of weight, and you're gonna have to be okay with, you know, not looking impressive with clothes on. As long as you don't let your ego get in the way, it's just one of those things that you have to go through. And, you know, when you're backstage, you never have to worry about the guy who looks big backstage in a hoodie. In fact, that's the person you usually need to worry about the least. The person you need to worry about is the guy backstage who's sunken in, who looks like he was just bitten by a zombie a week ago. You know, he looks maybe in clothes that are just baggy as hell, and he just doesn't look well. That is the guy that you need to worry about, because when those clothes come off, you know that guy is just shredded to the bone. He's gonna make the guy who was big look small on stage, because everything looks different under those stage lights. Everything looks different when the tan goes on, when you get pumped up, and when you are truly stage lean. So I know this was a longer video. However, I just wanted to talk about this when I am stage lean, because it's all fresh and it's all in my mind right now. I mean, even though I competed 2 weeks ago, you know, I haven't done any post-show binging or anything like that, so my calories are coming up, but I'm still stage lean, so I still feel all these things. It's gonna take me, it does take time to get yourself back to normal. So I think that's another thing that people don't realize. It's not like, okay, I competed, okay, like, let's just get back to normal. No, I mean, it takes 6 months, 8 months sometimes. I mean, it's different for everyone, but it takes some time to get your body back to normal. It's gonna take time for food to taste normal again. I mean, food doesn't taste normal to me at all. I mean, I could eat a rice cake and that just tastes like the best thing in the world. So that's just gonna give you an idea of kind of where I'm at right now. So I wanted to talk to you guys about this while it's fresh, while I'm coming out of my show, and because I've gotten people asking me questions as I've documented it. So I'm going to do my best to document the reverse diet, you know, coming out of stage, going into my off season, and just really do my best to give you guys my honest insight. You know, I'm going to try not to sugarcoat anything and make it seem like, oh yeah, here I am, stage shredded, this didn't take any work, or this was really easy and you can do this. Because the truth is, not everybody can do this, and not everybody should do this. I mean, I've seen this really mess with people's heads. It's not uncommon for people to go through this process and develop serious issues like eating disorders and just really unhealthy habits and relationships with food and fitness, because it is such a mentally taxing process. But if it's something that you're very passionate about or that you're really super in love with like I am, well then it can be a great thing. I mean, it is super rewarding to, yeah, you might feel bad, but when you get on stage and you've done everything that you needed to do. For me, I mean, I've been working towards that goal ever since I stepped off stage in 2015. So it's like I've never stopped working towards my goal, towards my bodybuilding goal. And then, you know, going through the off season and then going through that really long prep and even prepping during COVID and everything like that. Yeah, when you get to that point and you're like, man, I gave it my all. Because to me, like with prep, as long as I've done everything that I can possibly do in my off season and in my prep, I'm good regardless of what the results are. So as you go through and as you step on stage, you're like, damn, like this feels awesome. Like it's really, really cool. It's a really, really unique experience and it's super extreme, and that's what I like. I like taking things to the absolute extreme. And if you're like me and you like doing that and you're really passionate, then competing is probably one of the best things. I mean, I can't think of a better mental exercise than going through prep successfully and just learning from it. And because you do learn a lot about yourself, and you learn, seriously, if you can go through prep, you can go through most things. So I hope you enjoyed the video. That's going to be it for my video for today. Again, today was more of a discussion. If you found value in today's topic, or if you just enjoyed it, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to ask me a question or you have a scenario that you'd like me to cover, you can do so by shooting me an email. My email is listed in the description box. Don't forget to follow me on my other social media platforms where I do post exclusive content pretty much daily, so follow me over there. If you'd like to get my help personally and you'd like me to coach you, you can do so by visiting my website, themindmatterlifestyle.com. Please share this video with a friend or family who can benefit from the information, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video back here in Texas. So, all right guys, I'll talk to you soon. Take care.